Hey, intermediate algebra, we're gonna go through our notes. I don't have a tripod, so I'm gonna have to just kind of use this. We're gonna kind of make it work. So today we're gonna talk about using graphs to relate two quantities. And our essential question is, how can I represent mathematical relationships using graphs? So we all know how to create graphs, and we talked about making graphs and things like that, but today we're going to really interpret graphs and use the information to kind of talk about what is going on with it. So as a quick review, we're going to use the graph to the right to draw a line to each point to the column A and the coordinates column B. What we're really looking at is our x values and our y values. So I noticed that n is on my origin, so I know that that's 0, 0. So I'm going to go ahead and find that this 0, 0 goes to n. Then I'm going to start with this value that's in a positive, positive. I know that this quadrant 1 has a positive, positive. So I have a negative, positive, a negative, negative, positive, 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 negative. The only one that a k can be is 2, 1. M is in a positive, negative. So that would be this 3, positive, negative. So we've already done n. L is in a negative, positive. So that's going to be this one right here. And finally, P has to be our last one, but let's just go ahead and check. I have a negative, negative, and I have a negative, negative. A little bit of vocabulary for us. So we're going to talk about the word analyzing. Other word forms is analyzed, analysis. And the idea is that we're going to examine carefully in detail, and we're going to identify the relationship of its parts. And this key word right here, functions are all about relationships. What it means to break it down and to dissect, and where it comes from is the word analysis, meaning that we're going to dissolving. As we go through the notes today, if you have any questions, I really want you to write your questions down here. Tomorrow when we come back, we're going to go over these back questions, the lesson check that you're going to do on your own, and then any questions that you might have that you're going to put in on the side. So let's talk about example number 1 in analyzing a graph. If you notice, I have a hot air balloon graph, and it's talking about the volume and the time. So volume means how big is our hot air or air in a balloon, how big is our balloon getting, and then the time over time. So somebody must be blowing this balloon up. So if I think about a deflated balloon, there's nothing in it, and as I blow air up, it gets a little bit bigger, then I have to take a breath, right? And then I'm gonna blow a little bit more, and then I have to take a breath, and then a little bit more, and now it's getting really big, and I can only blow just a little bit more, right? And then it's at its peak. So that's what's going on in this, and so let's kind of talk about it. What is gonna depend on what? Our volume going to depend on the time I'm blowing it, or is our time going to depend on the volume? Well, the volume of our balloon, or how big it is, depends on how long I blow it up for. If I only put 1 breath into it, it's not as big as if I put 3 breaths into it. So our independent variable, which one doesn't depend, and our dependent variable are listed in here. What depends on what? Well, our volume, or our y value, depends on our independent, which is our time, or our x value. And basically, if I were to write this in a sentence, as time increases, the volume also increases. So as time increases, the volume also increases. So our independent is always right here, our dependent is always right here, and the way that I like to remember that is our independent has these nice flat lines, and our dependent starts with that nice tall line. Also, you can remember it with the y has the tall line, and our x, I don't know how you can remember that. But anyway, so your dependent variable is our y's, our independent variable are our x's. So we're going to kind of keep that in mind as we go to example number 2. try to lift. Whoa. Back in check. All right, sorry about that, guys. I just threw you across the classroom. Just kidding, I didn't. All right, so now you're gonna try. So what are the variables in each graph? Describe how the variables are related at various points on the graph. Go ahead and do that. When you come back, I will give you the right answers. Pause it. All right, so our time is our independent, our length is our dependent, independent, dependent. In this one, our board is getting shorter with each saw. Board gets shorter with each saw. And this one, our the cost of our phone bill is going to increase with the minutes of calls or however many calls. So our money increases with each call. And this one might actually have been like you get so many for free and then so many after it increases, but because I don't have a value down here, I'm just making an estimate that our bill is going to increase with each one of our calls. So example number 2, we are going to match a table and a graph. I'm gonna try not to throw the phone this time. So we're gonna go out like this. So example number 2 is we're gonna match a table with its graph. So a band allowed fans to download its new video from its website. The table shows the number of downloads after 1, 2, 3, and 4 days. Which graph could represent the data shown on the table? So I'm gonna look at my table and I'm gonna notice that my X values are increasing and my Y values are also increasing. So because both of them are increasing, I know immediately it's not this. This is one where we've got something that is decreasing. So I know it's not D. I also know that this is not a consistent pattern. This pattern right here is not consistent, where this one is consistent. We're always going up at the same speed. So I know it's not A. It has to be one of these, either B or C. If I look at C, it looks like it kind of goes up quickly and then it starts tapering off, where this one looks like it's going up at a pretty consistent basis, but then it gets really sharp here. And if I look over here, this one looks like it's going up by 600, then it's going up by about 2,000, but then it jumps a huge amount by like 6,000. So this jumping of this huge amount is telling me that our answer is B. Now I'd like for you to give it a shot. So it says the table shows the amount of sunscreen left in a can based on the number of times the sunscreen has been used. Which graph could represent the data shown in the table? Go ahead and pause it now, and then when you come back, I'll circle the right answer. All right, guys, the correct answer is C. Now we're gonna sketch a graph. So a model rocket rises quickly, then slows to a stop as its fuel begins to burn out. It begins to fall quickly until the parachute opens, after which it falls slowly back to Earth. What sketch of a graph could represent the height of a rocket during its flight? Label each section. So I know that the height is going to depend on the time. So we know that time here, height of our rocket. And it says that my rocket rises quickly. So I know it's gonna start at 0 and it's gonna rise quickly. Then it slows to a stop as its fuel begins to burn out. Then it begins to fall quickly. So I'm gonna kind of underline some of these. Slows to a stop, fall quickly until the parachute opens. So I have a really sharp fall, in which case it falls slowly back to Earth. So it's not quite as sharp. So this is representing my rise quickly, slowing to a stop, fall quickly, and then fall slowly. Suppose you start to swing yourself on a playground swing. You move back and forth and swing higher in the air. Then you slowly swing to a stop. What sketch of a graph could represent your height from the ground might change over time? Label each section. So here again, we have time and height. Now I'm assuming on the swing, so if I think about a swing set, right, I'm gonna draw a really crude swing set. And I'm a kid on the swing, I'm kind of starting here and I'm gonna go up, and then I'm gonna come down, and then I'm gonna go up again, and then I'm gonna come down, and then I'm gonna come up again, and then I'm gonna come down. That's what we're gonna show in our graph, but it says, you move back and forth and swing higher in the air. It doesn't tell us how many times or how many pumps we're gonna take, so we're just gonna kind of guess, and then we're going to slowly swing to a stop. So we have to start, so we're gonna kind of come up and then down, and then this is the back, so it's gonna be about the same, but then our next pump is gonna be a little bit higher, right? And then now we're in the middle, and now we're going back, and then back up to the front. So we're going forward to the middle, backward to the middle, forward to the middle, backward to the middle. And my graph is kind of funky, but, and now we're gonna start slowing ourselves down. So we're gonna kind of show that these backwards ones here are showing it down to a stop. There we go. All right. What would a graph look like if we buy 3 pounds and get the 4th pound free? So let's draw our axes. What depends on what? Does the money depend on how many pounds we buy? Or do our pounds depend on how much money we spend? Well, the cost of our bill is going to depend on how many pounds that we spend. So number of pounds. And this is going to be cost. They don't tell us what our cost is, so I'm just going to make some hash marks that are about the same distance apart. They do tell us if we buy 3, we get the 4th free. So I know that if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, this 4th one is free. So let's assume that they just cost 1. I'm not going to mark anything here, but 1 would cost 1. Then 2 would cost 2, 3 would cost 3, but that 4th one we get free, so it doesn't get to move up. Our 5th one would be up 1, 6, 7, 8 is free. So our graph actually looks like that. Okay? This is a pretty quick and short, easy lesson. So I want you to go ahead and give these 3 a check. We'll go over these 3 in class tomorrow, and then we'll go over our activity. Also, don't forget to write any questions you might have here. We'll go over those questions tomorrow. Hope you have a good night. Bye.